Here we go. Welcome to Live with Jane and Jody on this Tuesday, March 21st afternoon. I'm super excited to be here. This is our last episode for this spring season, so we're very
Yep.
excited. Today we have a special guest with us, one of our favorite alumnus, Dr. Danielle Lewis will be joining us here in just a little bit. We'll have some great questions for her. But real quick, to get things started, everybody, so you're aware, I am recording this session. We definitely want you to be involved and interact and ask questions. Jody and I will have a couple questions queued up, but really this conversation is for you guys to engage and ask whatever comes to mind. For those of you that don't know, my name is Jane. I am one of the admissions representatives here. Ultimately, I'm helping candidates whose last names begin with the letters M through Z. That's how you get assigned over to me. But once you submit transcripts, Jody and I are here to help you really prepare your application and get ready for a successful interview. So I love working with you guys. Just a little bit about me. I have actually worked with SCNM for a cumulative of over 10 years. I worked here from 2006 till 2013. I snuck off for a little bit, and then I got to come back right into the same department and support the admissions role and help you guys. While I was out, one of my favorite hobbies, I'm a live entertainment junkie. So I got really involved with Super Bowls and live entertainment events, from concerts to baseball to football to almost anything you can imagine in the big event world. That was pretty exciting for me for a little while. So I like to do that part-time. Actually, I just now I like it for fun. It was crazy that it became a career for a minute. So it's good to be back. All right, enough about
Awesome.
me. Meet my partner, Jody.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, welcome everybody again. This is our last session. So we'll start up again the beginning of May. But Jane and I do take a little bit of a break in between the seasons. So welcome. Thanks for being a part of these. This is great that you guys are faithfully here every week, every other week with us. So a little bit about me for those of you who do not know. So I have been with the school, SCNM, now Sonoran. This is my 17th year. So absolutely love what I do. Moved out here about 21 years ago. Went right into the mortgage business where I was back home, which is South Bend, Indiana. So that was a crazy time in my life. Probably the longest 3 years of my life, because you guys probably don't know, but the mortgage industry can be pretty brutal. So love what I do. Absolutely love working with my students. I, of course, work with the beginning of the alphabet, A through L, but Jane and I make a great team. I worked with Jane before when she was here and had the opportunity to work with her again when she came back. So both Jane and I have the same mindset. So it is great to work with somebody that wants to do the same thing you do and wants to help students like we do. So again, welcome. So I always start these off with a core value. And of course, the core value are beliefs of our institution. So today I picked we are resilient. So Sonoran University always tends to adapt to what is happening in the world today. With the COVID pandemic pretty much behind all of us, we are now teaching more classes in labs in person and moving towards getting us back to normal. So we are resilient. So again, welcome everybody, and bring all your questions and turn on those cameras.
Yes, we like to see you guys. So turn on those cameras. And Jody, you're right. What a great core value for today. Truly, like, seeing so much activity back on campus and everything has been refreshing to know that back to normal, quote unquote. Although it's a whole new normal these days, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Very good. All right. Well, with that, let me definitely go back and introduce our guest today, Dr. Danielle Lewis. I don't know what year she graduated from SCNM, but before she attended SCNM, she has obtained her undergraduate degree from Old Dominion University with a major in health sciences and management, so a little business skill in there too. She did do a 2-year residency right here in Phoenix, which is great. We'll learn a little bit about that. And she has a practice right here in the Valley called Harmony Integrative Healthcare, which really focuses on women's health. So today we're going to ask a variety of questions, not only about her practice, but how she got that up and running and stuff. Like I said, bring your questions. I also have a great note, very passionate about serving her community, including LGBTQ. So thank you.
Yay, yay, yay.
All right.
Awesome. So
Dr.
let's get this
Lewis.
ball rolling. So
Anything else to add, Dr. Lewis? Welcome. Thank you for joining
yeah,
us.
I graduated in 2013. I was like,
2013.
I can't believe that it's going to be 10 years in December. I was a December graduating class. So
That
yeah,
is
almost
crazy.
10 years. Yeah, it's kind of,
Yeah.
it feels wild. It's wild. It's
Yeah.
wild.
I was trying to think when I kind of got your bio, when you sent it to me, I'm like, God, when did she graduate? So I'm trying to think, and I'm like, I couldn't even tell you. I can't remember. But 10
Yep.
years, that's amazing. That's
Thank you.
amazing. Good
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
you. Good for you.
Thanks.
All right. So, Dr. Lewis, let's just jump right in here. And so, how'd you become interested in naturopathic medicine? Can you share that with the audience?
Yeah. So I did not grow up knowing about naturopathic medicine, but I had a mother who was very what I now call the number one naturopath. She didn't know she was a naturopath. And so she was just very in tune with our health. So I have three sisters, and all of us kind of had some mild health issues going on. I had really bad eczema to the point that my skin would crack and bleed, especially during the winter months. My younger sister was born; she had and caught pneumonia soon after, and so she dealt with a compromised immune system for years. My older sister had scoliosis. The older sister had really bad asthma. And so, with all of these, my mom always researched more holistic ways of treating us. So, for example, I was put on a whole foods diet. There really wasn't a lot of sugar allowed in the house. That was our sometime food.
Okay.
I was given cod liver oil and chased it with an orange every morning before I went to school. It was like my anti-inflammatory. I would come home to like beet, carrot, and apple juice would be. So this was my childhood. I've been I've been getting acupuncture since I was probably in the third grade. My mother also has a rare blood condition, and that they told her she wouldn't live for another 10 years. She's now 73, and she used primarily homeopathy to treat her blood condition. So I was surrounded, like, this is what I knew medicine to be. We still went to the conventional doctor, and she would say, don't tell him the supplement you're taking or any of that stuff. We're just here to get your wellness visit. And we're like, okay, mom, like, whatever. And so when I originally decided to go to school and do physical therapy, so that's what my first career was in before I came back to the then SCNM University, which is now Sonora, which I'm still getting used to. I like it. It's cute. And so I practiced physical therapy for about 14, 15 years and then decided I wanted to become a doctor. But when I was looking at the schools with the conventional models, they just didn't resonate with me. And I do have family members who are MDs, totally respect everything that they do in their curriculum and their careers. But they were like, well, go to MD school and then just practice, like what we back then, I don't know if it's still called that green allopathy, where it's like you can just do your holistic things, alongside your conventional degree. But I knew that I wanted to be inundated and surrounded by people, like-minded people, and learn. I wanted a very specific learning environment. And I just happened to I was on a cruise and I met a girl who was a naturopath. I never heard of it before. And I was like, this isn't real. I was like on the cruise and at the time couldn't afford the Wi-Fi. I did the research and oops, am I still connected? You still hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, the sound changed, but we can hear you good. It's okay.
Hold on.
Can you hear us okay? We can hear you.
Okay, now I'm back. There we go.
Okay.
My AirPods did something weird. And so when I got back home, I researched what the schools were. where they were, the difference, figured out the difference between the accredited programs and the non-accredited programs that were out there. And then I was like, well, I'll apply, and if I get in, I'll go, and the rest is history. So
There
here
you
we
go.
are. Mhm.
That's
Awesome.
cool. Did you only
Mhm.
apply to SCNM at the time, or did you apply to all the accredited schools across the board?
Oh, I know. I only applied to SCNM because it was warm.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I looked at the schools in Canada, of course, and of the most, what I deemed would have been my top contenders would have been here, Bastyr, and then what is it, in UNM now.
Uh-huh.
Um, but it was warm here, so I was like, well, I'm gonna apply here first. If I get it, I'm going. That's I might not be the best person to have to give you a logical way of figuring out things. I'm kind of like, this feels good. I'm very much based off of like, let me do my research and then let me go with what feels good. So,
There you
and I
go.
knew if it was cold, I wasn't going to go to class. So yeah.
That's funny.
That's perfect. So there's the
Yeah.
why. I love it.
Yeah.
And yeah, do
Mhm.
you miss the Four Seasons? Like if you went to school in Virginia, do you miss the Four Seasons, or are you pretty happy here?
No, I do miss the Four Seasons. I was loving it originally until when I first started, we got our summers off. So I was able to leave. So I did not experience, because I started in January. So the weather was really nice. And then that first summer, I wasn't here. I went and worked.
No,
I
it's
maintained my physical therapy degree, so I went and made money. And then they changed the curriculum where we're year round with
mm-hmm.
the 2 weeks off in between. And so then the next summer, I had to be here. I was like, this is a little intense. uh, yeah. So, and that was just like, okay, it's okay. We made it through. And then, you forget how hot it is
Yeah.
because of the weather's so nice most of the year. But I do miss like the leaves turning. But, you can drive 2 hours north and experience it too. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's how I do
You
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah.
it.
You honestly get used to it coming from an
Mhm,
environment all my life in the
mhm,
Midwest where the leaves are turning, you got your
mhm,
snow, you got your spring rain. And I mean, I just came back from Michigan doing some fairs, so lots of
mhm.
snow and
Yeah.
all the leaves are off the trees and everything. You miss it to a point, but
Right. Yeah.
not enough to move back to the Midwest.
Right. Well, I was like, let me clarify. I miss spring and
Yeah.
fall. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily miss,
Yeah.
miss the snow and the winters. And
Right.
and
Right.
one of the best pieces of advice that was given to me was to try to get out of the valley at least once a quarter, if you can, once a month.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's just so much to explore around here that's within an easy day drive, and you can be
Yep.
in a totally different climate. I found water. I was like, oh, Lake Pleasant and places like that. Like there's actually water that's not too far from here
Mm-hmm.
too.
Right.
So that
Right.
that makes it that makes the summers especially doable for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I love it. And you
Perfect. You
gotta
bet.
love it. I mean, you take the good with the bad. Right now is our like springtime and it's
Hmm.
beautiful and today's a cloudy day and
Hmm. I'm
I
loving
mean
it. Yeah.
I know I love it, so
Hmm.
it'll get warm here soon, but you just learn to take the good with the bad, so
Hmm.
yeah, it's
Absolutely.
brutally hot, but it's okay. But there again, I love the sunshine. So I
Hmm.
love waking up to sunshine every day, and who has 330 plus days of sunshine but us. So
Right.
it's
Right.
ideal. Awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. So going back to, I didn't realize that you had done a residency. So
Mhm.
you did that, right? So did you do it there at Sonoran or SCNM? Is that where your residency was?
No, I did mine at an offsite. They've
Okay.
since sold their practice and retired, but it was called Revolution Health, is where I
Okay.
did my residency. And I actually was blessed with a residency that allowed me to be in a naturopathic setting and a conventional setting. So
Oh.
I was primarily 4 days a week. I was at Revolution Health, which was a naturopathic clinic. And then every Friday, I would go to Central Phoenix OB-GYN, which is actually, she's still in practice, with a OB-GYN, and I would shadow and round with her on every Friday
Interesting.
for 2 years. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic. So did
yeah.
you always know when you were in school, did you always know you wanted to do a residency, or was that just
Mm.
maybe I will, maybe I won't, or what was the deciding factor there?
Well, so I'm not sure I don't even know who my audience is. I'm sorry. I was like,
Oh,
are we in school? Are we?
so
Are we
these are mostly students that have been
okay?
accepted or have
Okay.
been admitted into the spring, mostly spring
Okay.
class.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
That helps me formulate my answer for that. So when you start school, you're going to like there's so much information that's thrown at you. And it's all great information. And so like every quarter I'd be like, oh, I think I'm gonna, focus on this. The next quarter I'd be like, I'm gonna focus on that. I was kind of all
Yeah.
over the place with my physical therapy background. I really thought that I was gonna migrate towards like the manual courses and manipulations and which I soon found out that I was no good at. I was really good at physical therapy, but I was not. I made it through the class, but I was just like, I'm not your girl for that. And so then I was like, well, I need to probably figure out. And then I got more into like the injections therapies, like Prolo, PRP, all of those, which was great. And I did it. That was probably the extent of like I did some quote unquote pain management within my office that included those injections and was able to get that in residency. But probably I actually started working on my business plan during my third year
Okay.
because I do feel like you need that time. And yeah, you can still, the biggest piece of advice that I can give you guys is to remain flexible. A lot of times, especially when you're in school, you become so regimented because you kind of have to make it through and be very organized as you're going through your day to day. But you also need to be flexible because things are going to change. And so I basically started to outline what I wanted my business to look like. And then at the time, I was starting to get on more shifts that involved women's health and it resonated more with me. And it felt like I got the gut feeling that I get like this is the direction that I need to go.
Yeah.
And I was a December grad. So you graduate, you can correct me. I don't know what the scenario is currently. I graduated in
Yep.
December, took boards in January. It takes like, I don't know, a couple of weeks to get your results back, but it feels like 5 years.
Yep.
You apply to residency oh gosh, you apply to residency like that September or something before you even graduate. Like, so you're already applying for residency. Um, even if you get residency, is contingent upon you passing boards if you can actually
Mm,
start the residency. But then the residency doesn't start till October the next year. So there was like this huge gap that I had to figure out like what I was gonna do with my life, right? And so I like to have options. So I started planning my business. So just in case I didn't get residency, I could fall back into my business plan, was what I
okay.
decided to do. Um, and so then once I did, and I had a business partner, and we had kind of this worst case. You have to do your worst case scenarios especially if you're going to start a business with a business partner. And the worst case scenario was that if one of us got residency and the other one didn't, then the other one would kind of hold down the practice until the other person finished residency.
Got it.
That didn't happen. But
Okay.
so I got a residency, the other person didn't. And then that led to me just restarting my practice afterwards, but I still already had that solid business plan from before, which is why I was able to go from residency into starting my practice. And it's also the reason why I intentionally chose to do an offsite and a practice so I could not only learn how to become a good doctor, but I could also learn the business side of things too. I was able to see that more so in an offsite residency versus when you go the school route. What I've been told, you end up more in academia is more the
Ah,
um, is more of my friends that did residencies at the schools ended up kind of staying at the schools, teaching, taking shifts at the schools, stuff like that. And then maybe eventually started their practice. But I finished residency and went right into private practice.
wow. Wow. Good for you.
Yeah.
Little scary.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's still
But
scary.
a very well thought out plan. Like
Yeah.
you know, already having that business plan before graduation. Do you
Right.
feel like your undergraduate management degree in the background, like, did that kind of help you put that together? Did you get a lot of support through the careers department at SCNM, like putting that together itself?
Mhm.
How did you feel
Yeah,
about that?
the careers department was actually Joanna Hagan. I don't know if she's still there. She
Mhm.
was phenomenal. But there's a ton of resources that I took advantage of for both. Like she helped me tremendously with organizing myself with my residency application and with the business stuff too, with the business
Wow.
courses. I think that my background in management definitely gave me the willpower to want to own my own business instead of maybe working for somebody else, for sure, and being okay to take the risks associated with that. um, there's a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad where he talks about by Robert Kawasaki, where he talks about the different paradigms and how some of us we're used to we base our decisions a lot off of feeling secure. And so some of us feel secure as employees, some of us feel more secure as business owners, and then you kind of have the people who will kind of straddle. And so I
Mhm.
definitely kind of straddled in between because I had lived most of my life as an employee, and this is my first time really undertaking a business model as a sole practitioner was after medical school. And so you definitely have to be real. It's a little bit of a risk that you're taking, right? But planning for it helps to mitigate some of those risks
Wow.
too.
Wow.
I would say the other big thing was mentors. I'm big on mentors. Like between the career center, my background, and I'd probably say the education I got through residency at Revolution. But to this day, I have mentors. Like I align myself with other practitioners who have been out for longer than I've been, or some of these new grads are coming out beasts too. Like I'm learning from some of them too.
Right.
Awesome.
um,
Yeah.
because a lot of them have business backgrounds too. But I align myself with people whose practices look the way that I want my practice to look as I grow. And we share information about how we're doing things, from our hiring processes to possibly starting our own residencies to patient engagement, all kinds of things, and that's been very valuable too.
Wow. Wow.
Great advice.
Doing
Like just
great
network
things.
and
Mhm.
mentors and having those partnerships. That's outstanding. I was going to ask that, have you thought about starting your own residency to give future grads
Yeah, so was
opportunities
I.
to grow?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that's great to
Yeah.
hear.
Right.
Yeah, definitely thinking about it. I'm in the process of going through all that paperwork actually as we speak.
Right. Right.
At least a precept or something, because I think I'm an approved offsite for, is it second years to do observations or first years? I think I forget what year it is. First or second years, whatever you guys are able to do observations. I'm an approved offsite, so you get credit for observing with
Oh,
me.
great.
I thought it
And
was first
then
year.
I think
I
it
think it
is
is. It
first
might be
year.
first year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you get to third year, I'm also an approved offsite for, so you can get your clinical hours and patient contact hours for when you get into clinic. I'm also an
Awesome.
approved offsite for that. So just keep that in mind.
Perfect.
That's
Perfect.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Are you adjunct faculty? Are you teaching any specific classes in women's medicine or
Oh.
anything here? Yeah, go ahead.
Mhm. Oh yeah, you'll see me at Guide Lab when you get to Guide Lab. So you'll have Dr. Marchese's for gynecology, and then you'll have during your third year you'll have Guide Lab, and I teach Guide Lab. So I think that's quarter. Don't get me to lie. I don't remember.
We'll check the
13
program of
maybe?
study.
remember.
We will
Yeah,
make it
I
up.
think
Yeah.
13
Yeah.
maybe. Well, you got a little ways to
Yeah.
get there. So,
Yeah, definitely. Clinical, definitely into third or fourth year later on. Yep.
Yeah.
So are you in the practice by yourself? Are you the only doc there?
I am. So
Wow.
I have a practice. I'm the only doctor. I have 2 rooms within my practice. I do rent one of my rooms out to another naturopathic doctor who does more mental health,
Okay.
acupuncture, gemstone therapies, things like that. And then I have a manual therapist in the other room, but they don't work
Okay.
for me. They're just renting space here,
Oh, okay.
which is another way to make income too. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 So tell us a little bit more about like what's a day in the life of your practice for you.
mhm. Right now, chaotic, but
That's good,
I will
right?
tell you,
That's
it is.
busy.
No, it is good. I know, because I was seeing patients up until talking to you guys, and I'm gonna go back to seeing patients afterwards, and it's a blessing. I truly
Yeah.
feel blessed to be in a position that I am, where it's like people want to come see me, and it's nice of people, you know, like either from referrals from other patients who refer them to you, or I I know referrals are nice, but I actually enjoy the people who find me on Google because they're fresh, and I love bringing people into this paradigm of this different way of thinking about their health. We need more people to do that. But so I typically, my new patient visits, let me backtrack. I do screen people for my practice because I recently, about 2 or 3 years ago, I was kind of doing a little bit of, prior to COVID, I was doing a little bit of everything. I was doing primary care, I was doing the like holistic pain management, and I was doing women's health, and loved all of it. But then COVID, I was doing a lot of in-person procedures, and COVID changed that. So I had to go more online and kind of hone in my virtual skills and remaining entertaining virtually and engaging and healing people virtually, without being able to use all my lovely acupuncture and all those types of things. But it worked out fine. So it shifted. And then it just caused me to start thinking about niching more, which is why I niched down to hormones, like within women's health. I'll do anything women's health associated, but within that, hormones, fertility, especially for women over the age, or anybody trying to conceive over the age of 35, and then working with more so with the LGBT community around stigma, and just wanting to create that safe space for people just to get their wellness visits, so to feel comfortable coming in to even get their wellness visits. So I niched down to that, and so for that reason, I now screen people because I don't really do acutes. If my patient, you're already my patient, and you have something acute happen, I'll prescribe or make recommendations, but I don't really do acute. So I really wanted to make sure whoever was coming into my practice was appropriate. So I offer 15-minute free meet and greets virtually, where
Okay.
I just tell my patient or my potential patients whatever. I want to make sure that whatever it is that you're looking for help with, I'm a good fit for that. And then I also want to give you an idea of how my practice operates, so to make sure that's what you're actually looking for before you invest with me.
Fantastic.
And that's been really good. It's brought my stress level down.
Yeah.
You know, it's helped me kind of create boundaries between myself and my business, which is important to have that balance too, so that you don't burn out, because it's really easy. I felt myself kind of burning out before COVID. So that niching is kind of one of the blessings that happened, that came from COVID. And then I have all my new patient paperwork online. They fill out their new patient paperwork online. I ask them to submit that to me a couple of days prior to their appointment. And then my new patient visits are 90 minutes. And I chose to do that because that allows me, number one, not to feel rushed, and the patient not to feel rushed. Usually the people who are coming to see me, I would love to be somebody's initial thought as far as their healthcare, but unfortunately, a lot of times we're their last resort. They've tried everything else, and so now they feel like it's okay to invest cash to come see a naturopath and make that investment. And so by that time, sometimes we're dealing with some pretty complicated cases, and I don't want to feel rushed. I don't want my patient to feel rushed, and so I do 90-minute intakes, and then I do 45-minute follow-ups. So if a good day for me is about 6 patients, somewhere around like 5 to 6 patients is a good day. It may go up from there if I have like somebody who's only coming in for like a B12 shot, or you know, somebody's maybe sitting with an IV while I'm working with somebody else. But if I'm doing one-on-one care, my limit's about 5 or 6 patients so that I can be fully present for them mentally.
Nice.
You know, and I don't want them to feel that I'm distracted or tired or anything like that.
Right,
So,
right. And
mhm.
is it usually Monday through Friday, every day? Okay.
So I
No.
see, nope. That's what
You got
that's
to
something
have
else I
that
had to
mental
change.
day.
Yes.
There's that flexibility again.
Yeah, I had to change. That's how it started. Where we're at now. So Mondays are my admin days. So
Okay.
I try to get admin stuff done. Sometimes it ends up being a doctor's appointment day or stuff like that.
Okay.
Tuesday I'm here all day. Wednesday I'm here later in the day. Thursdays I actually teach. I typically teach at SCNM in the morning, and then I actually still work part-time or one like a half a day a week for the gynecologist that I did residency with. And I
Okay.
like doing that because that keeps me like because patients are coming to me from that model, right? And it's a good referral source for me too, because she refers patients to me and they meet me there, and then I can transition them over here for things that I can't do in her practice.
Mm,
And she and I are clear on what that is. So I'm not taking patients from
That's
her or anything
great.
like that.
Great partnership.
And plus it keeps me on, like I see pathology there that I don't see in my office.
Sure.
The other day I had a patient who had 2 cervix and she had
oh,
1 uterus, but it was attached in the middle and kind of bifurcated, and 2 cervix. And I was like, does this mean I need to do 2 pap smears? And she's like, yeah. So I was like, okay.
Wow.
So that was like
Unique.
that's a rare type of condition that I may
wow.
or may not have ever seen in my practice, but get to see more of that there, which is cool. And then
Wow.
Fridays I'm here, and I actually am open 2 Saturdays a month, and that the second and fourth Saturday. And I just find that I'm only open from 10 to 2, so I can sleep in a little bit, and I still have the rest of my day to go get brunch. And
Right.
then and people are usually more laid back on Saturdays because they don't, have to fight traffic to get here and things. So it ends up being a pretty like chill day,
Right.
busy, but
Right.
but everybody's in a good mood, so it makes it go by nice and smooth. So I don't mind my
Right.
Saturdays.
Good. 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 And you have that group of people that work all week and they can't get to you through the week. So
Exactly.
Saturday
Yeah.
is pretty convenient for them.
Hmm. Yeah,
Any
and they book up. They book up like mine Saturdays are booked through the next 2 months. I want to say, so they
wow,
book
I'll
up pretty
bet.
quickly.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
I'll bet. Awesome.
Do
Any
you?
questions?
Oh yeah.
Anybody? Sorry, Jane, go ahead.
No, yeah, right. We have the questions, guys. Put them in the chat.
I know.
Or we love the awkwardness of Zoom. Unmute yourself and jump in
Yeah,
anytime for sure.
exactly.
The only thing that was coming to mind for me was, do you accept insurance or is it only cash based?
So I'm only cash based.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried. So where I did residency, they took Cigna.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw like the model was nice to get people in the doors, and there were services that she could offer, but a lot of the billing actually took place under her acupuncturist license versus
Mm,
Mm.
the naturopath, which is that's a whole discussion within itself. And so I was credentialed. You have to get credentialed with the insurance company. So I was already credentialed because I was working there. But when I finished residency there, and I tried to call the insurance company to see if I could accept at least Cigna, since I was already credentialed, they said they weren't accepting any new naturopathic clinics.
got it. Oh,
So yeah, so
interesting.
no, I'm fee for service, but I tell my patients anything that we can build through your insurance, like some labs. Like if I use like Sonora Quest or LabCorp, there's a couple of other labs popping up now
Mm-hmm.
that the lab is doing the billing, and so it can be billed through their insurance that way. But then they can also use, if they have a health savings account like an HSA or an FSA, they can use that to pay for services and for supplements.
Got it.
That's great. And
Oh,
it hasn't slowed down your business, obviously. You're booked through a couple
Mhm.
months, you said, on Saturdays, and it sounds like your weekly appointments
Yeah.
are full also.
Mhm. Yeah. And I was worried in the beginning that it would be a factor because talk about that flexibility again. That's just the game, being resilient, right? That's the core
Right.
values. It was like a question I got all the time. You don't take insurance, you don't take insurance, you don't take insurance. And I was just like, oh, what is up with this insurance? But I actually had
Right.
a patient of mine write a blog where she had graduated from law school and had been, was trying to find her footing within the law world and everything, and had decided she had opted not to get insurance because she had done like this big Excel spreadsheet comparing like how much she would pay for insurance and then how much she would still come out of pocket per month up to when she met her deductible. And then, and then she's like, versus how much she was paying me. She saw me every 3 to 6 months, depending on what was going on with her, because we were in maintenance phase by the time she graduated. And she's like, versus how much she was paying me, even paying cash for her labs, because there's a lot of labs out there that actually have really good cash prices. And the nice thing about that is once you pay, you're not getting a bill afterwards. Like I've had patients get a bill for $600 for just vitamin D because vitamin D is deemed as experimental. So it's like once you pay for those labs, it's paid for, and you're not worried about getting another bill. And so she compared those costs and she was like, I'm just saving so much money, like by just seeing you. And like, I think she held like some low level insurance for like, if she needed like surgery or something like that, she could, something major, she could have that done. But so it felt, I was a little bit nervous in the very beginning, but now I honestly, I don't feel the impact of it. I'm not taking insurance.
Like you mentioned earlier, just stepping out of that comfort zone, being willing to take that risk, like where are you comfortable and what's it going to take to push your business through to success and be confident in the service that you're providing, the product that you deliver. So good for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. All right. So Dr. Lewis, what would you say is the most challenging part of owning your own business?
Staff. I would say staff. Finding like at this point, I would probably say that the answer to that question has probably evolved over the years.
Oh, I'm sure.
In the beginning, it was just like having that confidence, to, I will say, doing a residency gave me the confidence I needed as a doctor. So when it came time to start the business, I wasn't so worried about we're always worried about the patient care, but I wasn't as worried about the patient care piece of it. I was able to really focus on starting the business, and whoever like came through the door, I knew I could figure it out, right? Or at least I had resources to support them. So, and then it's, like things are constantly changing. You're constantly changing. What you want to do is constantly changing. And creating those boundaries, I would say probably especially when I first started my business, because you're like, oh, I need to see everybody, I got bills to pay, right? So sometimes you're not creating boundaries with your appropriate boundaries with your patients, and they have a little bit too much access to you and are stressing you out and maybe not valuing your time. So that was probably like midway through. And then now I would say it's the growing pains of finding staff, because let's say even if you're hiring a medical assistant, they're trained generally, but they may not be trained in the specifics of like naturopathic or integrative medicine, and so you're needing to kind of retrain. It's a different model, so they're used to like the doctor seeing 10 to 20 people a day and kind of like that hustle and bustle, and I have like my 6 people coming through. And everything. And we're, I call my practice small but mighty. Like we're busy, but it's more on touch points and holding patients accountable and communicating with patients and making sure they have what they need and making sure they know where to go to find the supplements on FullScript, and knowing, about like the process for getting the specialty labs done and stuff like that. And so it's just a little bit different mindset. Which most people love it, my issue with staff has been usually they come and they start working with me and then they decide either they want to go to naturopathic medical school because, or like go into healthcare, so they leave to go back to school. So like the good ones always leave to go back to school. So yeah, finding staff, maintaining staff, you know, even like putting up operations into place for onboarding people, training people
Right.
from, you know, that's the process I'm going through right now with considering starting a residency, like what that's going to look like with the training, the support, how often I need to be there, all those
Right.
types of things.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm curious, you touched on something like kind of speaking of mindset.
Mhm.
At what point did you feel like I am a doctor? I can figure this out. Like you said, you know,
Oh
you
my
didn't
God.
have to worry about
Yeah.
the doctoring part of it. You had to think more about setting up your business. That when does that mindset actually hit a new grad of I can do this? I'm just curious. Like when did you realize that on your
Yeah,
own?
that's a great question because it's funny. When I graduated, like all my cousins, all my people that came to graduation was like, "Oh, you need to start making your reservations." It's Dr. Lewis, and he's like, "Where, like, get it, you know, across your chest." And like everywhere you go, I'm a doctor. I'm a doctor. But for me, it felt like a name change. Like when people, probably that first year in residency, when people refer to me as, I go by Dr. Danny, but either Dr. Danny or Dr. Lewis, I would just be like, "Are they talking to me?" Like, like it felt weird. I didn't want to feel like I was being put like on a pedestal or something. And then one of my best friends sat down with me and she was like, "Look, you
Own
worked
it.
hard for this degree.
Yes, you
You
did.
need to own this degree. Like you are a doctor. You need to act like a doctor." I don't know what that means, but and I was just like, and I was like, "You're right. You're right." So I'd probably say I fully owned it halfway through my second year of residency.
Okay.
Yeah,
Neat.
I probably say it took me about that long. I'm slow.
No,
No, it's just,
we
yeah.
hear that. Like
Yeah.
it takes a
We
minute
do.
for that
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
confidence
like
to
for to
really
keep
be
it.
there.
Yeah, like to be like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm
Yeah.
doing this. Like you get that tough case that you like figure out, or like that patient that's like, you know, they appreciate you for whatever it is, fill in the blank, and
Yes.
it's like okay, like
Yeah.
this is why I'm doing this, and like, and I'm meant to do it.
You know, and you have to take ownership and be like, look, I did work hard for this degree.
Yeah.
You know, I
Mhm.
mean, every
Mhm.
ounce of that 4 years of hard work, you know. So yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Good for
You
Yep.
you.
pass
Yep.
those
I own it
boards,
now. I'm
right?
good
That's
now. I'm
right.
good now.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. We got a couple questions in our chat. Thank you guys. So from Marina, we've got, have you ever practiced without a staff? Is it possible?
I did. In the very beginning, it was just me. It was just me for 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I did everything. I
Wow.
answered my own phones. The first I did, I wanted to go on a vacation during I think it was my second year of practice. And one of my mentors had told me your phone is your bread and butter. So you, at minimum, have somebody answering your phones. And so I did hire on a virtual staff that pretty much just answered my phone during my second year, but everything else I did all on my own for 3 years. It's definitely doable. There's definitely ways, and honestly, there's, even with the staffing issues I'm having currently, there's so many things that you can automate to make your life easier. And people initially, when I started, I was like big on just wanting my practice to feel very personable. And so I had a lot of touch points where I was like, well, instead of you just emailing back and forth, like, you know, let's hear a voice, let's hop on the phone or have you come in or like something like that. And people really wanted that. That's another thing that I feel has shifted since COVID. People are actually okay with like texting, you know, with
Right.
HIPAA,
Yeah.
making sure proper HIPAA, you know, texting. Platform that you're using, or being emailed, or I do a lot of communication through my EMR, my electronic medical system too. So a record.
Actually, somebody asked,
Awesome.
what EMR do you
Yeah.
use?
I use Charm. It's CHARM. I don't know if they've changed. I liked it because EMRs can get to be a little bit pricey. It's pretty easy to use. It's become less clunky over the years, but you were only charged for the chart notes you sign off on. And so it was a great way to start up to 50, like the first 50 are free, anything above 50, you were charged like the ones you sign off on. So in the beginning, when I wasn't seeing 50 patients and you're billed per month, then it was basically a free EMR and with all the bells and whistles. They have integrations that you can sign up for. And then, some of those you pay a monthly fee for, but they're like $10, $20, something like that. They're not usually too pricey.
Charm. Okay. I skipped over a question just because you had touched on that topic. So Katie asks, what has been one of your most memorable cases in helping a patient?
Oh, that's a great question. Memorable. I actually had a patient who before COVID, I would do, there's a lot of them, but this is the first one that comes to mind. That I'll tell you two. So I had a patient who came to me prior to COVID. I used to do my meet and greets in person. And she had originally said when she scheduled that she was coming in for hormones. And when she came in, she was jaundiced, and so I let her kind of go. Her husband's with her. I kind of let her go through her spiel, and she's like, yeah, my hormones are not sleeping. I have nice sweats. I'm like, I'm waiting for one of them to get to the fact that she's jaundiced during this meet and greet. And so then she just kind of stops and her husband's just sitting there nodding. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I was like, has anybody told you that your eyes are yellow and like what that means? And this is like a meet and greet, right? And so she's like, her husband looks at her, he's like, yeah, I thought things look interesting over here. So I was like, oh my, on the inside, I keep saying I'm gonna write this book that's called What I Wanted to Say Was, but what I had to say professionally was. Because I'm just kind of like, what is going on? How did you not tell that your wife's eyes are yellow? And so, I don't take an intake form. I probably should after this, but I don't. So I don't have like her history or health history or anything like that. So I don't know like if she's a drinker, or, like she has hepatitis or anything. But I told her, I was like, something's definitely going on with your liver. You need to go either follow up with your primary care, or I just went ahead and gave her a lab form. And I was like, you need to get these labs done right away because this is not good for you to be jaundiced. And so I was like, if you could go today, that would be great. So let's see, this happened in October. No, this happened in September. And then in November, I get 175 pages of ER records for her that get faxed in. And basically what had happened was she was an alcoholic. She was in liver failure due to alcoholism.
Wow.
And but instead of going to get the labs done, what she had done, her first grandbaby was being born. So she had flown to go see the grandbaby be born, was still engaging in her behavior, had swollen. Like when I finally saw her in person, she was swollen from head to toe. And not only are her eyes jaundiced, like her skin is jaundiced too. Wow. And I'm like, this is interesting. Like I had never treated, and they had let her out of the emergency room saying that she didn't meet the criteria for a liver transplant. Oh. And she was basically following up with a liver, a doctor who said she didn't meet the criteria and was just basically doing these procedures where he was removing fluid from like her abdomen. She would go in once a week and just have the fluid removed. And then it started going into her thoracic area. She was going in once a week. One thing that we did do at that first visit that I was actually pretty amazed by, because I had no idea what to do with her. So my resort is usually acupuncture. Because there's just so many, like it's a powerful medicine, and it's because she was anxious. She had like a lot of different symptoms going on. Goodness. And so I had to actually look up points for jaundice, and then a couple other balancing points, mental health points, some points for inflammation. And when I went to go get her off the table, her eyes were no longer jaundiced after her appointment. And that resolved with acupuncture. And the eyes never came. One acupuncture
Wow.
treatment. Yeah. And we actually kept her until we were able to get her into a system. And this is an important lesson in working along with other healthcare providers and what that looks like. Because she came to see me once a week up until she finally did. She needed a liver transplant. There's nothing I could do to repair her liver. It was too far gone. But I had to advocate to get her into another system. And as soon as I got her into that system, they put her on the transplant list right away. Because I was just
Wow.
like, I was reviewing records from her other physicians, and I was just like, this isn't adding up. From what I'm seeing, you do qualify. So I'm not quite sure, but that this doctor just wanted to keep doing this procedure of just removing fluid from her body.
Oh,
We also, when she did get the liver transplant, her team was like, wow, we've never seen somebody heal as well as you, because she had gotten help. She was no longer drinking, but she was also the type of person that like drank no water, did not like vegetables. And so we did a lot of like foundational stuff. And with this story, what I want to impress upon you is that our therapies, even though they seem so simple, like they're powerful. Like I've seen just having somebody get enough water in a day, like change
Mm.
the trajectory of somebody's health pretty exponentially, using hydrotherapy, using food as medicine. So she was eating super clean. She wasn't drinking alcohol. She was drinking her water. She was like, and she was coming in every week for acupuncture. And she was actually able to move up her timeline as far as they were seeing her every week, and she's having to get blood work done after her transplant to make sure she wasn't rejecting the liver. And they were just like, yeah, you're good, you're stable. So then she was able to like pretty much finish up her post care a month sooner than most people
Wow.
have to. And she still maintains like really good health markers today. And she attributes it to the acupuncture. I attribute it to the vegetables in the water, but she attributes it to the acupuncture. And so coordinating with other doctors is huge. And she's 3 years post-op now and hasn't had any complications or any issues since then.
Awesome.
And she doesn't come every week for acupuncture anymore, but she doesn't need to. Like she's doing really, really good.
Wow. Awesome.
what
And
a
then I would
wonderful
say,
story. Yeah, keep going.
oh yeah. Oh no. Well, I was going to say the other case is more in my women's health realm with a patient who had been trying for her child was 12. So her and her husband had been trying for 12 years to get pregnant.
Oh,
And they had gone through IUI and IVF and had not gotten pregnant. And when I took her case, she was dealing with really bad menorrhagia or heavy menstrual cycles. And so we managed that through it was actually a thyroid issue. She was also a vegetarian, but she wasn't a healthy vegetarian, so she was eating vegetables once again. But the vegetables, so we made sure she got vegetables in and was avoiding like the soy, the carbs and the super processed soys like Morning Star. She was having that for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Wow.
And then once we were able to get her cycle under control, she could actually exercise because her cycle would come on so suddenly and so strong. She was basically hemorrhaging, and so she didn't feel comfortable like leaving the house sometimes when she knew her cycle might be coming, and so she wasn't exercising. And she now has a beautiful baby girl. She's got pregnant at 40 with a beautiful,
wow.
healthy baby girl, and she's still doing even afterwards her cycle. She just reintroduced a lot of the things we did prior, and she's still doing well. So
Wow.
I love making babies.
Awesome. Oh, I know.
Those are wonderful stories and just such powerful medicine that you write. It sounds so simple. It sounds so
Yeah.
basic, but
Yeah.
thank you for sharing. Great questions,
Yeah.
Katie.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
good.
Mhm.
It's so fun to
Good,
be
good.
inspired by that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Awesome.
How
Great
neat.
stories. So
Mhm.
we have a couple more minutes left.
Mhm.
Dr. Lewis, I want to hear a little bit about your schooling. So
Mhm.
I'm just going to throw it out there. Was it as tough as you thought it would be?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Was it
Yeah.
worse? Was it worse than you thought it would be?
Um, no, I don't think it was worse. No,
Okay.
it wasn't worse. It was as tough. It was just
Okay.
tough. I just had to, I mean, I was, this is my second career, so I had to like kind of dust off my study skills
Okay.
and
Okay.
things like that. But it's definitely doable.
Okay.
And I had to make sure I took care of myself
Okay.
while
Yep.
in school. So like the first year I was like, not really, like I had quit working out and wasn't probably eating as well as I could. And I just was like up at class study, up at class study, up at class study. And quickly realized that that was not good for me. And I actually performed better when I allowed my time for self-care and eating breakfast and taking my adrenal supports and stuff like that. So I think that made it doable. Then you get into it. I did a test to figure out my learning style. I think that's important. And when I tutored, when I was at the school, I made the students that I was tutoring figure out their learning style, because I think that plays a huge role.
Okay.
And like, are you a kinesthetic learner? Do you learn by just hearing it? Do you learn by reading it? And I'm kinesthetic, so we're the complicated ones. Right.
Wow.
So that made it doable, but it's definitely challenging, but you just need to make sure you take care of yourself, and utilize your resources. Like there's resources
Yeah.
at the school. The
Yeah.
library has a ton of resources. Make sure you're utilizing those resources.
Right. Would you do it all over again?
Ooh. If I could become a naturopathic doctor without school, yes.
Oh.
A little acupuncture. We'll just stick it in you.
Right. You know, but I say that it's like, but as soon as I graduated, I was like, maybe I'll go get my PhD, and then I was like smacking myself, like, what are you talking about? like I love learning. I love school. If somebody else would pay for my PhD, I would go get it though. I would go back to school and get it. But yeah, I don't know if I.
But many students that I've talked to who have graduated they'll say that first couple months after school, you're like lost. You're like, oh my God, I've spent 4 years in a classroom. I'm lost,
That's your
so
life. That's your
yeah,
life for 4
yeah,
years. Yeah.
yeah,
It's better
yeah.
on this side, I promise you. It's worth it. It's worth. I don't know if I do it again, but it's worth it.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Oh, that's
That's good.
That's funny.
Couple quick comments. This hour has zoomed by. Unbelievable. Like it's so incredible to have
Yeah.
your time. Thank you so much. But let me go through
Yes.
our quick comments here. For sure, just that's incredible. Thank you for sharing your stories. Wow, these are great stories. Great stories, truly amazing. What wonderful stories. Thank you for sharing. So awesome for everything you've done and doing. Started following on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. So happy to keep seeing you. Everything
Awesome.
grow. That's wonderful. Here's a question. How did you find out your learning style?
They actually had in the tutoring center, if that's still a thing, they had a test there. That was just like that you could fill out. I'm sure you can go online too and just put in what is my quiz for learning style and figure it out that way too. But they had them in the tutoring center.
Oh, interesting.
Handy.
Okay.
We probably have elaborated a little bit too on new student orientation. Through that week long, Dr. Clow is going through a lot that's helping our students determine learning style and how to learn at this level, because you've said it, there's so much coming at you at once. How do you manage all that and compartmentalize it here and then bring it back later and then put the two together? There's so much there. And then everybody, it looks like somebody's curious, a PhD in what? What was next?
So because I just had a discussion with one of my friends who's a PhD. So when he's like, don't go the traditional route. So I'm trying to find that combination of a degree that would allow me to do something in women's health, specifically around normal lab values, values for minority women would be, because our lab values and normal and optimal or whatever are kind of all over the place. And so we get lumped into this normal value, and it's not necessarily our normal value. So I would like to do research around that and figure out what's up with that.
Nice. Nice.
And write a book.
Good.
And write a book.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
30 seconds or less. Any last minute words of advice?
Oh gosh. we all did this before you, so you all can do it too. So just make sure that you keep your eye on the prize. Live off of mantras, write them on your mirror, keep them in front of you, whatever those mantras are, they keep you going from day to day, because so when you say that first thing in the morning, when you wake up and look at yourself in the mirror, and just remember that you guys are all, can I curse?
Of course.
Sure.
You're all badass bitches. and we need you. We need, doctors, more naturopathic doctors out there, like sharing this knowledge and helping people understand how their bodies work and helping people heal. Like we need you. So just whatever that big goal is, whatever that big insight thing that keeps you going from day to day when things get tough, just keep that at the forefront.
Yeah. Good advice. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much, Dr. Danny.
Awesome,
So good to
awesome.
see you.
Good
It's
to see
you guys
you.
too. I miss you
Yeah.
guys. We gotta
I
get together
know.
sometime. Yeah.
Stop by and say hello. We're back on campus
Exactly.
too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, are you? Okay, good. All right,
Yep.
perfect. Well,
Yeah.
thank you guys. I hope to see you
Right.
in Gyn Lab and around campus.
Very
Yeah.
good. All right.
All right.
Have a great
Thanks, everybody.
afternoon. Thank you,
All right.
everybody.